Here we are. It's another Clarity Community member spotlight, and I'm here today with the godfather of the Tricycle Creative logo. I'll make you a logo you can't refuse. That's an that was. Do you know who that? That was a good impersonation, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was Jim Carrey as
Dang
Fire
it!
Marshal Bill.
No, no, Adrian. I'm here with Adrian Quintero, super talented graphic and logo designer. Dude, thanks for taking some time to talk about you and about logo graphic design.
Well, thanks for having me, Ross. It's always a pleasure to do this with you here.
And inevitably talk comic books as we are ought to do
Yeah,
for
we'll
like
get into comics in a
oh
second.
no, side tangent of 20 minutes. Okay, no,
Yeah, right.
we're gonna okay. So why don't we start with this? Talk a little bit about who you are and what you do and who you work with. That seems like a good place to start.
I'm a multi-careered individual. I've had many careers from bartending to early childhood development, and now I'm in graphic design. And I thought I'd take my artistic abilities and see what I could do commercially. And I'm a freelance graphic designer that usually works with small businesses, friends of the family come to me a lot for stuff.
When you're a
So
creative,
uh,
isn't that kind of that tends to
they,
be something that
yeah,
happens?
from little, open mic band logos, a cousin came to me once, and other people have real, they have real businesses that are lucrative and stuff. And I help bands out. I help bands out with illustrative covers, album design, all that type of stuff. I do the layouts for CD, CD packs and stuff for bands. I do posters.
Well,
It's
now
one of my
it's a lot
favorites.
of digital releases, but they still have this very visual component, right? Or I guess
Hmm.
vinyl, right?
Some
Vinyl.
I have done some vinyl releases in the past couple of years,
Yeah.
which is huge for me. That's one of my loves is collecting vinyl and playing vinyl. So and then now I'm doing a little bit of merch. I'm doing a little bit of merch
Hmm.
for bands as well. Some of those same bands, they want to see what I can do for them, merchandise wise. So which is
Nice.
one of the new main focuses of my website.
Nice. So I want to so you like I said at the beginning, you created the Tricycle Creative logo. You have created many subsequent logos for me. So we worked together for a while. And I think, when I get to work with other creatives, I like to think that I also learn and grow from the experience. And so I think probably along the way with your very patient hand holding, you helped me a lot understand, graphic logo design. So for people watching this that maybe don't have a you, right? What are the most common mistakes that clients make, like related to logo, specifically logo? I know you do more. I don't. We're not gonna
Hmm.
put you, but like, let's talk logo for a second
Yeah.
because I think that's like a starting point of design that most businesses need.
That
What are the most
yeah.
common mistakes that you see?
I I'm finding out that is when they don't find a me. They don't
Mm,
find someone that is skilled, has basic understanding of logo or branding, just logo.
yeah,
That's and what that means. So when they don't find a designer, they think that they can do it themselves because they've gone through a million Pinterest boards
mm-hmm.
or they've searched the hashtag small business logo on Instagram,
Sure,
and so they see a whole bunch and they I think the number one thing is they do it by themselves.
got it.
And they don't hire a professional.
Yeah,
And there are
and
professionals out there that'll do it for like $10. I think that a lot of times it's going to break the bank, but you also get what you pay for in that sense.
I think this happens a lot with the creative field, where since people don't kind of see how the sausage is made, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
They
Mm-hmm.
think that it's easy, or for that matter, cheap, right? That it,
Right.
and I think valuing the creative process or creative people is one of the first things that you can and should do as a small business marketer or solopreneur.
Mm-hmm.
Valuing that process, because I am a big believer in the you do get what you pay for. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
mean that you can't find people who are affordable, but you run the risk going cheap of really probably paying when it's all said and done 2 to 3 times, because it's not like what you want or even what you need when it comes
Mm-hmm.
to, I mean, certainly with logo, but with a lot of the other creative fields, social media, writing, you name it, digital marketing,
Mm-hmm.
it falls in there. And I think one
Mm-hmm.
other thing that came up recently with one of my other clients is the kind of the professional treatment of working with someone like you. Like, let's use the V word, the vector file,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
I met, and I
Right.
think you have too, many a small businesses that don't have a vector file. What's a vector
Mm-hmm.
file, and why do businesses need that, Adrian?
A vector file can be, it's a mathematical equation that happens when you resize it. So as long as the numbers meet up or match up, it won't, it's not, it'll scale. So if you want it on a business card, or do you want it on a billboard, and everything in between, it's going to scale down, sharp edges. It's not going to get blurry, or what's also known as pixelated. And you see the stuff on the edges of things, and you're like, is that fuzzy? What's going on there? And if you don't have that vector file, you don't have the real value. You don't have the source from where that logo that you're going to put on the web, that you're going to print up on your business cards. You don't have that file,
And I'll say
and when you
this:
have a vector file, when all those are made from a vector file, they're perfect. They should be perfect.
you may or may not have the software to open the vector file, but here's the thing: you need to have
Mm-hmm.
one, because when and if you do those print jobs, business card, billboard, you can provide that to the printer, and they'll know what
Right.
to do with it. Right? Like that's the thing is, but it's really important that you have that. And
Mm-hmm.
I always joke with the vectors that you can always tell the small businesses by going to a farmer's market. You go to a
Mm-hmm.
farmer's market and they have like a banner they've printed out, and their logo is fuzzy as hell, or it has the white square background behind it, which is not
Mm-hmm.
exclusive to a vector. We're not going to get, but it has like the white square
That may
behind.
have been a vector at one
It
time.
might have been. It might have been. But I feel like this is where you go through and you like look at a banner and you're like, that is
Yeah.
Blurrsville, USA.
Yeah.
That's not a
Yeah.
vector, right? Or that's a
They did
really
it
crappy
themselves.
printer.
You know? Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what other common mistakes do you find clients make?
Thinking they only need like just one logo. One logo will do. Oh, that's all they need. Um, I used to cater to that, but then they come back and we're like, well, what about this? Or what about black? Or what about a white version? How do I put it on this? I'm like, well, you needed a white version. You needed more than just that one that you ordered from me.
Yeah.
So I stopped with that. And when they find a designer that can be honest and have some transparency, it helps out in the long run. Take their advice. So I know, sometimes they're like, wow, this is going to cost me $500 or whatever, whatever it is. And that's big for someone starting out. It's a big date, something they didn't really think about. And I don't know, I'll be honest with them. Hopefully a good designer will be honest that you will need more than one.
Yeah.
What about if you need something goes vertical or horizontal and then something that goes vertical? What if you want just, the emblem and not the words?
Something I have a lot of. So just trike.
Yeah.
Where is he? It's over here.
Yeah, just
Just
the
trike,
tricycle or just
and not
just
or
the
just
emblem.
the words, right? We have all these variations that we created together. And
Ross, is
I
that shirt embroidered?
it is. It
Is
is.
yeah.
It is
Well,
embroidered.
the source file that you're going to need to pay me for as well.
Yep.
The embroiderer, excuse me, will need that
Mm-hmm.
file. And when you're like, I have an .ai file, and they're like,
Mm-hmm.
perfect, send me that. And you're like, there it is. It came in handy. I'm glad my trusty designer told
Yeah.
me all about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's the thing is, at least a good designer will, when you, particularly if you're out there and you've never done any of this,
Hmm.
okay, a good designer will listen to where you're at. And I think, conversely, if you're a service provider, this is something you need to hear. A lot of times when it comes to working with clients, it's you need to present to them what they need, not always what they want. Because in a lot of times in our industries, in our business, for you, in a creative field, for me, in a coaching or SEO, this may be the first time that someone's even had this conversation. They don't know what they actually need, right?
Hmm.
And we kind of act as guides for a lot of these clients, right? For a lot of these small business marketers or bands, for example, that maybe have never gone through this before. So I think that's an important thing, whichever side of the table you're on. If you're a service provider watching this, or if you're even a service provider looking for this service, to understand that you should have someone that's a guide that explains things to you. Because they may say to you, Adrian, I can't afford this, but at least they know that this is on the table and maybe it's something they can plan for, right? So,
And I've worked with clients as well on prices, like if stuff's too steep, or we've gone in stages. Well, how about I do
yeah,
get you started with this? If you promise to, purchase X, Y, and Z from me
yep.
down the road, because I know you're going to need it,
Or you can
and you're
stretch out
talking website, or
payments.
you're talking, yeah, you stretch out payments, break them up,
Mm-hmm.
be
Totally.
organized, have the means to do that as a designer as well,
Yeah,
or a service provider.
sure. Are there
So,
any other common mistakes that you see or have encountered in the years you've been doing this when it comes to logos?
I have. Is thinking, well, that's not me. Then you show them a
Mm,
logo, or you show them some examples, and they say, well, that's not me. And the mistake of saying that the logo represents them instead of the business.
mm,
Um, they are, they're kind of behind the scenes. So the behind the scenes is them, the business, the way it runs, the customer service, all that is them,
yeah.
is the person behind it. But sometimes they make the mistake to say, well, this just doesn't represent me. And it's like, well, what's the business? You're selling shoes, you're selling purses, you're selling, you're helping with SEO. Let's make that logo represent that, and your mission and why you did this, your passion or whatever you're doing here, rather than just you.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah,
would
I
imagine
mean,
all
I've
that.
come across it before.
I would imagine all that kind of comes through the process, which actually we're going to go through here in a second, because I thought it would be really interesting to share your process with people who maybe have never are looking for logos or have never done, got a logo for their business. I thought it'd be really interesting to share that with people. But I would imagine some of that gets revealed or sussed out in the conversations you have with them,
Hmm.
kind of leading up to that actual, I'll say pen to paper, but pencil to paper for in a lot of ways. Like for start doing the
Hmm.
logo stuff, right? Like those
Hmm.
conversations you have with the client.
Hmm. Yeah, I've even ended a couple before the process started, thinking that and as being honest and saying that I'm not the right.
Yeah.
I don't believe I'm the right one for
Yep.
this.
Yeah.
you know. And if I
I
have a
mean,
colleague or somebody that I know that is perfect for it, then I might. Or most of the time that they take the reins themselves, and I see them a couple of weeks down the road with their brand new
like wow, that's
logo.
a something
Oh,
that you made there.
hey, good for them.
Like,
Check that off their
yeah,
box. They got their
that is
logo
some.
made.
There is no shame if you're a service provider in respectfully, I think, stepping away if you're not a good fit. Now,
Hmm.
ideally, you want that just to figure that out even before you sign a client. Like that's where a really good sales and evaluation process comes in. So before it gets like messy with money, you can figure out a yay or nay, right? Like
Hmm.
I know from
Right.
this first 15-minute phone call, I ain't going to be a good fit for this person. And that takes
Hmm.
maturity. It also takes time, if you're a creative service provider. That doesn't happen
It takes
overnight.
wording too. You got to have your wording down really well.
Yeah.
Uh, you got to look into that. I've be the first to say I've Googled how to let down a client, how to say, how to tell somebody that in a nice, gentle, professional way, because they're going
Yeah.
to take that personally, and
Yep.
no matter how you say it, expect them to take it personally.
Yeah. Yep. So let's do this. I thought it would be a
Right.
really neat experiment exercise, if you will, to kind of walk through your process a little bit. You put together this really great document. So I thought maybe we could jump over, go through that a little bit. And you ready for it?
Sure. Yeah. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Do it. All right. So here is the document that Adrian's put together or has about his logo development experience. And of course, it's on brand, because this is his jam. So he knows what he's doing. But this breaks into three phases. So, Adrian, you want to just talk again at a high level, about this overview?
Hmm. I've tried to expedite this as efficiently as possible, and it has taken time over the past 6 years, 7 years, going on 7 years of doing this. Mainly a lot of logos. So, so phase one, we, meetings, discussing, talking about what it is you're about to do. Uh, I get to, understand what drives you a little bit, what inspires you, and it's it doesn't get too personal, but I definitely want to know what I'm kind of getting into, um
Is
like
this a yay or
on like a
nay
passionate
meeting?
level.
Let me put it like, is this a meeting where after you have it, it's kind of a, yeah, we can do this or no, we can't? Like, is this a feeling
If I
out
can't have
for
a
both
Yeah,
parties?
if I can't have a normal conversation with someone,
Yeah.
and this is all this is,
Yeah.
and I'm here to and I'm listening too. You got to be a good listener
Oh my
at
God.
this
Yeah.
at this level as well, and you know just be excited for them, whether or not you're going to take the job. But you just got to be excited. This has got to be, they've made it this far to this point to where they either quit the job or they're changing careers or something. They're making a big leap. So you got to at least be excited for them. And if all goes well in the meetings, and most, like, 98% of the time I take the job because, I'm hurting for money. Um, phase,
Don't listen to
phase
that.
two.
That's not good best practices. That's crazy. But it's real. I get it, right? I mean, I think
Yeah.
also you
No, no,
are,
everybody that approaches me is amazing too. So
yeah,
I'm inspired by them. They're inspired by me. They've searched me out. I've only told no maybe once or twice
see, a big
in the
part of
seven
that
years.
also
So yeah.
is tied to your own marketing and messaging and
Hmm.
your clients as ambassadors, right? If you're going to putting
Hmm.
out the right messaging and you're working with the right people, then it does make it easier to close and convert the people who are coming to you, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, cool.
And most of the time I'm already ready. Sometimes already, the initial one is like, hey, I've got this such and such, a recording studio
Yep.
that I want to brand. And I'm like, hell yeah, well, I'm going to brand that for you. So phase two is development. It says there, I draw till I can't draw anymore. And then, sometimes that's digitally, sometimes it's on my little drawing pad, my like paper pad. And then I digitize things. I move it along. I take a photo of it. I turn it into, little black only images. Most of the
This is
time you
always my
get some kind
favorite
of
part of the
sketchy.
design
It's
process.
it's it's a lot of fun
Yeah.
to present that, and then I see, I lay out. I may have 9 that I'm looking at on my screen during the day, but
Yep.
I'm only going to show you like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
You're not going to see those other ones.
Yeah.
It's going to, I've noticed that it just blows their mind to have 9 to 12. They just don't know what to do.
Guys,
And that,
choice is a great thing, but it can be a
mhm,
very dangerous thing, I think, when it comes to providing particularly a creative service.
yeah.
Like I think a lot of times people come to people like you and me, and well, yes, of course they want choice. I'm not saying just here, take this, this is what you get. But what I am saying is a lot of times
Hmm.
they need the hand holding, not necessarily the complete freedom, right?
Hmm.
Because
Right.
they'll him and they'll ha, you'll go down. And again, this is for both sides of the table. You give them 9 designs, this project going to take 3 times, 10 times as long. And
Hmm.
a lot of times it's where if they're hiring you or us, they
Hmm.
have to trust in your guidance there, you know?
There is, yeah. There has to be a little bit of trust
And then you
with
deliver it,
taking our advice and stuff like that. I mean,
yeah. Or at least listening. I'm not opposed to discussion,
listening back
but
to
you
us.
need to
Yeah, yeah.
understand like the position's coming from an informed place, not just some
Hmm.
picking things out. So and then you deliver it, you deliver the final talk a little bit about the final phase here, the delivery.
Uh, Everything, most of the time, I've already talked them into multiple logos, um, and I don't even discuss it with them anymore. But I say you'll get stuff for print and you'll get stuff for web. And I really don't say much more about that until the delivery. Okay, this whole file, if you're printing something on paper, use
Mm-hmm.
these, send these. If you're going to post it on the internet or mobile or wherever, use these files. And I separate everything. I separate things into colors and primary logos, secondary logos, third, fourth, however much we do. If they get textures from me as well, more branding type of stuff, that goes into the delivery as well. Most of the time I do that with the logos.
So
But yeah,
when
I organize everything. I send it in a WeTransfer as well, is usually what I've been kind of doing. But yeah.
So when you start, what's the biggest you feel like the most important takeaway from this phase 1 of meetings? Email to inquiry to scheduling to proposal, like what's the biggest takeaway here that a small business marketer should know about phase 1 meetings?
What's the biggest takeaways? I mean,
Yeah.
we're gonna get it down into the hopefully the heart and soul and why you're doing this. I think the meeting, and chatting about expectations and visions, that's the biggest thing. Sometimes they learn a little bit why they're doing this themselves,
Yeah.
that they never thought about. Uh,
I love
some of
it when
these
that
questions that I'll
happens,
ask.
when
So
it's
yeah,
incidental kind of
yeah, oh
discovery
yeah,
on the client's part. Like as a coach,
yeah.
that's like my favorite thing in the world. But it's like
Hmm.
I think again, even as a creative service guide, service provider,
Hmm.
I know many of the people I talk to. That's an enjoyable part too. If kind of you have this bonding experience where together
Hmm.
you've found something new. Like
Hmm.
I know you and I have done that a lot with many of the logos. I come to
Hmm.
you with a half-baked idea.
Hmm.
We talk about it and you make a better baked idea. Inevitably, right? Like that's what
Yeah.
happens. That
That's what
like
happens. That's what
yeah,
should happen. It's what should
exactly.
happen.
Yeah. Yeah, do you
Somebody
don't
has an idea and their designer, whoever, they should make that idea 100 times better,
yes.
and
And yeah,
exceed all expectations.
you've always done that for me, so that's why you're here. That's why we're talking. I wouldn't be bringing on no jamoke here. Okay, let's talk development. Phase 2. What's the biggest takeaway here? Because this is a dangerous one. This is a quicksand step, I feel like, where people, if you're either on either side of the table again,
Hmm.
endless rounds of revisions. It never ends. The never-ending logo
Oh,
design
it
project.
ends. When you
Oh, it
when you
ends.
work
Oh, it
when you working
ends.
with me, it
Yeah.
ends.
It's
I'm very
over,
honest about.
Johnny. Yeah.
Yeah, we're kind of going.
And
We're doing small moves.
when you started,
Let's wrap this up. Yeah,
did you find yourself getting sucked into the Sarlacc pit of endless edits?
a
And now
couple of
this is,
times, man.
yeah.
A couple of
But you've
times.
honed
Yeah.
it,
Hmm.
right? You've
Yeah.
honed it here.
And it goes all the way back down to or that round one that where it's like I'm just going to give them like two or three to look at.
Yeah.
You know, I have not had a day yet. Maybe I did that with my cousin. I was like, "Here's your new band logo,"
Mm-hmm.
and she loved it. And I did
Oh.
it in at breakfast on my iPad. And while I was drinking my coffee, she was like, "I need a new band logo." Boom! I gave her one in like 5 minutes. It's like, here you go. Don't say I never gave you anything.
You know how much I like threes, but I do feel like you and I
But
typically don't get too far past round two. I could be wrong there, but I think usually
you
we
you
get.
you have a clear. It's easy working with you, Ross, because you have a clear vision of what you want, and you already have a knowledge of what my skill set is, and you tell me I need this like this, and I need the thing like this, and then I take it and I give you one or two examples of that, and you're like, "This is the one." We're like, "Sweet." You know the process. My logo process with you is completely different than with
I
somebody
did.
that's going to
How
approach me tomorrow.
how
I'm like, you
special!
know
I
the
feel so.
drill. I'll send the invoice.
No, no, no!
We
I feel
don't.
so
Yeah, you
honored.
know the
Yes,
drill. Yeah,
yeah.
like you know me. Like my emails with you are like, here you go. And I don't
And
have to
I'm
explain it.
and inevitably
You
here's
come
how it
back.
usually goes. Here are a couple, and I'm like, can we combine these two somehow? And you're like,
Yeah, yeah.
yep,
Take
boop.
this one
And
and this
that's
one, and
that.
there we go. Boom.
I'm classic. I know that's how I was like. Usually give me
All
two great
before
ideas.
lunch.
Yeah, and I'm like, what if we did this and this? And you're like, all right, got it. Right. So I love here though, when and if you start to get to round four, or you
Hmm.
see this, like, what do you do to start to stave that off, or to like, listen, we need to wrap it here? Is that usually fixed by saying, I'm going to charge you more? Or are there some other tactics?
Contracts. My
Ah,
contract
love it.
spans only a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks with a logo now.
Love
I
it.
used to do a whole month,
Love it.
give myself plenty of time. I'm like, well, we're coming to the end of the project or the
Yep.
end of the contract. So we should probably wrap it up. You got me till Friday, and like, it's
Yep.
not a big deal. I'm not like, hey, buddy, time to pay up and move out. It's like,
Yeah.
or and if it needs to go, then you let them know, and I can
Yeah.
always tack on. We can move to hourly afterwards for
Mm-hmm.
whatever little edits and small moves that you're going to need. But I'd like to point out that you have 3 more days left on this contract.
Nice. Love it.
I also let them know that I have a schedule, that I'm starting new projects soon, that I've lined everything up. It's not that I'm just working on this logo, but while I'm working on it, I'm answering other emails to try to
Yep.
set up things, jobs, prior when the current project comes to an end.
And here's the thing. I think that is something really good for people to hear that are watching this video, whether you again are looking for a logo, or maybe you're in the creative service, like, being transparent in a contract and in the discussions with the client to begin with, being very transparent about how this works is incredibly important, because then they know what they're signing up for. If you didn't tell me that and then I sign up, and then a week in or a week and a half in, you're like, hey, we're getting close to the end, I may be like, what the heck? I didn't know. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But if
Mm-hmm.
you communicate that, if that is in a contract, and if it's something really important, I can't stress this enough, you need to talk to them in person about it and include in the contract, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't just
Mm-hmm.
hide behind your contract. While that you may I say get away with that. While you may be contractually protected, that can be kind of shitty. Like, people are kind of like, oh, the first time I'm hearing about this is in the third paragraph of the contract. Like, if it's something really important, don't bury it. Make it very clear. So
Yeah.
now we get to delivery. You get through all that. You have everything. You've talked a little bit about this. You give it to them in a bunch of different formats,
Mhm.
variations, if you will.
Mhm.
What's a big takeaway from this step that you think people need to know?
Well, I think there's a couple. There's a couple. The review is something new that I'm just now offering. With the raise of prices, raising my rates a tiny bit this year, like I do every year almost. The review is something that I'm adding, and we're going to. And everybody, I feel like everybody's got their webcam game, and they've
Yeah,
got that down now. So
yeah,
whether pandemic or not, I feel like everybody is now prepared to do video conferencing wherever they are almost,
yeah.
in whatever clothes that they have on. They've proved that as well.
Or not have
So,
on. I'm not wearing
or not have
pants.
on, lack of,
The
yes.
world
So
won't even know.
we're gonna review the final outcome via webcam or in person, if at a coffee
We're
shop,
getting
if the
close.
person's logo or something. Yeah. They can hear what my reasoning behind it is, what it kind of says there, rather than saying, oh, here's the final logo, what do you think?
Yeah.
And then they're like, well, and so then you end up in another round, when
Oh
rather
yeah.
this is review is like, here's what you're about to pay for. I am done. We're done.
Yeah, yeah.
We're wrapping this up. Here are your web files. Here are your print files. Here's your guide and color codes.
I
No,
like
I
that.
didn't do a booklet. It's going to be 2 pages. I'm
Yep.
not going to do a mood board for you. That's a waste of my time and your time and digital space.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get the source files now, Ross. Since you've asked so many times for your source files, I feel like I think everybody and it's beneficial. I live by it.
You're welcome, everyone. I did
Yeah.
this for you.
Do you get the source file that I built everything in? No,
No,
you
but
do
here's the
not
thing,
get that.
people.
You
Don't
get
be.
your
Listen,
logo in an AI file.
here's the thing. If you're watching
Yeah, yeah.
this and you're looking to get a logo, or you're looking to hire a photographer, because I did photography and video for a long time too. Don't do it anymore, but I did. A real long time I did that. You don't need, and sometimes it's kind of a you don't deserve, I say that nicely, those files. This is a big one in photography. People are like, can I get the raws, and that kind of thing. And it's like, you have to, when you work with someone, you have to trust them as in their craft, like, so I think I would get no use out of the sourcey sort, like the your sketch. And so you need to be realistic. And I will also say this. Hey, everyone out there, if that's something you feel like you need or want, you need to bring that up in the very beginning.
Yeah.
Right? Because maybe Adrian would be willing to give it to you, but to be fair,
Fonts too.
it may be an extra price.
Fonts are another thing. Fonts too.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll share which font that I used in the guides and codes, but you don't get that font, so to speak.
Well, a lot of times too, when you
like, not unless you don't expect it. Don't expect them to give you the whole font family that they used for, comics and collectible under your logo.
And I would say, I think in a lot of these, when you do them, right, are you using open source fonts? And a lot of or you're either making your own typography, which is what you've done for us.
Sometimes I'm not. I am doing hand drawn stuff.
Yeah. Because I don't have a Tricycle creative font, nor have I requested it, nor do I need it.
Yeah.
Because it was kind of like a hand drawn type scenario. So, all right, this was super helpful, right? I think this is really good, really insightful to, again, the small business out there that's maybe looking either for their first logo, for a proper logo, and even to those of you out there who are creative service providers. I think understanding and seeing Adrian's steps is something good that you could and should apply even to your own business. So before we jump off, I have one more discussion point for you, Adrian. And no, it's not comic books, although it
Comic
easily could
books?
be.
Oh,
No, it's not going to be. We're going to, no, we have to avoid the tangent on this. We're staying on track. So I'm going to, I'm going to come back. We're going to come back real quick and then I'll ask you the question. Does that sound good?
yes.
Okay. All right. So here is my question. What advice do you have for a fellow solopreneur, creative business marketer? From your own experience, what advice do you have for them?
The best thing that I've done for my business has been have all your admin stuff in order. So invoices, contracts, scheduling, a way to schedule with clients, all of that stuff. Make sure your finances are in order. So it's just a one-click download your PDF. Spend a little bit of money. Spend a little bit of money to get a nice service that keeps everything, whatever that service is. Look, small business book.
What do you use for some of that?
I started off using a company called Anco, and.co. And they were, it was just small business, entrepreneur, freelance, invoicing, contract, timekeeping. There's a billion of them out there. They're now owned by Fiverr, but all the things that I loved about Anco are still there. Fiverr is adding a couple of things. I did not want to give my money to a big company like that. And that's why I searched out Anco. And I only pay $24 a month. And, I have all my clients in there. And if I have to send you something, Ross, it's so simple. Know? I type, I don't even have to type anything up. Most of the stuff I send you, the emails, most of the time are templates.
See, that's the thing, guys. Like, this is the thing. There are investments you need to make in your business to help streamline a lot of the aspects. And I would say, as a creative, you'll lose or frustrate a client if you're not organized, like before you even get to being able to show how creative you are. These things, or you're going to make it harder on yourself. Don't make it hard on yourself to collect money, to get things in order, to see even at a high level, or some of them depends. They can go super granular, but like your money, who's paid, who hasn't, send reminders, send files. And so I use a service called PandaDoc. It's I would say it's like middle to upper, like price wise, compared to something like even like a HoneyBook or an Anco. And again, as Adrian said,
what does HoneyBook cost? Is that like upper or lower?
I'm gonna say it's definitely cheaper than PandaDoc. So PandaDoc for me now is around like $60 a month, I think. But it has a lots of similar features and functions where you can create like a template. And as Adrian talked about, then when you sign up a client, it's like, oh, I know that I'm going to give them this and this and this, and you just boop, 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 and it brings it into a proposal. You're not sitting there spending a whole day writing up a proposal. Like, that is a pain in the butt. It has your logo on it. They can click yes and pay. Like, organization and optimization in that piece is super helpful. I've also made no bones about the fact that scheduling meetings is the bane of my existence when I used to work in the corporate world, where it's like, how many emails do we have to send to get this stupid meeting scheduled? I hate this. It's the worst. So I know you and I use Calendly. There's, I think, a Quiddity. There's 100 different services, right? I love Calendly. I'm a Calendly loyalist. But you then set your availability, and then you just share a link.
Yeah.
And someone can just pick what works for them. Oh my God, I would not run my business without it. Right.
There's a little bit of time. You got to make sure that all your stuff is marked out. Like I have some, I got something from 9 a.m. to 11 tomorrow. I could not, I have to put that in
Yep.
Calendly before I send a client to that calendar.
Yep.
You do have, there's a little bit of organization in there, but again, that's what business is. It's an organization
Yeah. Yeah,
that,
and I
that
think,
offers
like I
services or
said,
products or something. Yeah.
the if you're not organized in that way, you're going to turn off or frustrate more clients, and
Hmm.
that's not what we want to do. You know,
Hmm.
I think the other thing that I feel like over the years we've been working together, that I've even seen you develop this other really
Hmm.
good tip for people, is kind of setting boundaries too, right?
Hmm.
Like knowing what clients you want to work with, knowing what clients you can help, and knowing which ones you can't. And
Hmm.
that comes with time. It doesn't happen overnight, but you need to
Hmm.
be constantly aware of that. You know, if you
Yeah.
start to see a
Te-
trend, you're working
Late
with
night
this type of
text or
client.
something like
Oh,
that. If they're working on stuff, I don't mean late night text like
yeah,
that. I mean like, hey, what about this? I need this. Is there something that you can send me like this on my phone as I'm like chilling out watching anime at 10 o'clock at night? And it's like, what are you doing? I'm not at
yep,
my desk. I'm not at your
yeah,
disposal. So yeah, setting boundaries, and I'll immediately text them back. Now is not the time. If you need to
yeah,
something about the project, email me. I'll get it
yep,
first thing in the morning. I
yep,
promise.
yep,
But you got to set those boundaries, man. If you
yeah.
if you don't, um, you find yourself being walked all over or being
Well,
taken advantage of slightly, and maybe they don't know they're taking advantage of you.
yeah, that's a
So,
good point. Sometimes everyone works differently. They may not even
hmm.
recognize or realize, and so again, this gets back to transparency, I would say, at the very beginning, you know,
Hmm.
of this is kind of how I work, this is what you can expect, that, ba, 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 that kind of thing. And I recognize for people, it's a lot of work to put in on the front end, but it's an
Hmm.
investment. If you put in the time to
Hmm.
really outline these things, yeah, it takes time once, but it's going to save you so much headache in the long run. So,
Yeah.
um,
It's you got to work on your business too. You can't just
yeah,
work the business and sell things and offer services and then not spend some time working on your business. And that doesn't mean just reading the latest John C. Maxwell book. It's getting in there and feel like, how can I streamline this, or how can I make should I start a newsletter, should I start a blog, what's best for your business? You got to constantly still work on that, not just listen to some motivational stuff or a podcast. Like
yep.
when working on your business, you got to get in there and get your hands dirty, move things around.
Adrian, it's been a pleasure having you. Where can people
Ross, it's
go?
always
How
awesome.
can they connect with you? Fire away with the plugs, my friend.
Man, I am on Instagram. My personal, which I do a lot of posting on there, a lot of my work is ATX Quintero. But I also have a full on design one, AQ underscore design, DSGN.
No vowels.
And that's on Instagram as well. And online on the World Wide Web, I'm
Wow.
AQ Design, again, AQDSGN.com. Go check out what I've done to my website. I've kind of moving things around and getting in there and get my hands dirty, and hopefully it's a clear presentation of what I do and what my services are,
And you can
rather than
schedule a time with
just
them
kind
right
of
on your
switch it.
website, right?
You
If they want
schedule
to
a
talk to
time,
you.
man. You can get in contact there. Don't call me. Don't text me after 10 because I'm chilling.
Okay, I won't.
That's
I'm
me. That's me
sorry.
time.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Sorry to put you on the spot like that, Ross, but I just can't.
Listen, to be
Setting
fair,
boundaries.
to be
Are we still recording?
fair,
We're still recording.
yeah, yeah, we're still, yes. Yeah, you save that for when I say stop recording. To be fair, I am very regimented in my business communications, and I usually stick them to email.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah, same
I'm an
here.
old curmudgeon, so if someone
Mhm.
texts me about business, my response
Uh-huh.
is usually, "Can you send this to me in an email?" Because I will
Hmm.
see the text in my brain. I will acknowledge the text. Notification goes away, and then I forget. Just how I.
Yeah.
Sorry. Sorry.
Text is a hi, how are you kind of thing.
Yes.
Hey, how's it
Yes. Love a good how.
Yeah.
But that's just two old fogies, and two old fogies' perspective of texting.
Yeah.